All right, we are at it again talking about this blood sugar. So, a couple things that we want to look at. Something you may not have considered or even think about is that when you eat like something that's sweet, it leaves like a sticky film on your face or whatever. So when you eat blood, I mean when you when you eat things that are sweet, it does the same thing to your blood. So that sugar that you're eating and that's building up in your system, that's turning into sticky stuff inside of you. So that's what causes organs to malfunction, all these other issues, because you have these sticky things happening inside of your system. So we want to make sure that that's not something that's going on. That's the first thing. Looking at also how our body's just responding overall to dealing with blood sugar is something else that we have to be aware of, because there could be other problems. People get hangry and they have are hypoglycemic, where you have low blood sugar. That in fact is a situation where you are unable to control your blood sugar. So you're still having the same issue, it's just going the other direction. So we have to figure out how to control that, right? We talked about eating in the order of which we eat, and then we've also talked a little bit about microbiome. So I'm going to touch on microbiome a little bit more in terms of the bacteria in your digestive system, and then I want to look at how your sleep plays into it. So just to touch on the microbiome again, if you are not, or if you don't have like a good probiotic to help rebuild your gut system, then that's one of the things we want to do to help rebuild the gut microbiome. That's the organisms in our stomach, the bacteria, the good bacteria in our digestive system that allows us to process food properly. If we can't process it properly, then what we end up doing is we end up raising our insulin levels and storing more sugar into, or toxins actually, into fat cells. So we want to do that. The probiotic is a great one. The other thing is to eat more fermented foods. And what I mean by fermented foods, I'm talking like sauerkraut, kimchi, those types of foods. Not necessarily the yogurts, because a lot of yogurts are full of sugar. So unless you can find one that's really, really good and not laced with a ton of sugar, then we want to look at those types of things. Kombucha is cool, but a lot of kombuchas are still getting there with the sugar. So we have that to deal with also. But yeah, so we want to look at that in terms of balancing out our system so our body can break down our food properly, and then on top of that, be able to utilize all the different nutrients that we're taking in. Now, sleep is a major one because most of America is sleep deprived. We don't sleep enough. We're sleep deprived, and because of that, it affects us overall, right? We work a lot, so we try to play a little harder, and we stay up later because we feel like we didn't get anything done during the day because we've been working and we've been doing all these other things. So we feel like we run out of time, and the only time that we have is to stay up late at night. It's a common problem. However, when you stay up late at night, what's happening is you're sending cortisol, and when the cortisol levels should be coming down, they're not coming down. Those cortisol levels are staying up. And so what cortisol does is it tricks the liver into actually a process called glycation, which is when it begins to make sugar. So that's why people who are like, well, I didn't eat at all, but when I woke up this morning, my sugar was really high. Well, your sugar's really high, especially in the morning, because your liver starts to break down cortisol in order to help you, to give you the energy to wake up. So that's what's happening there. When you're staying up late, you have cortisol levels that are high all the time, and those cortisol levels are continuously adding to the sugar, or to the processing or building a creation of sugar that your body is going to use to stay awake. This is why people who don't sleep well have a lot of trouble losing weight, because they keep facilitating more and more, avenues for your body to gain weight. So that is a major one when it comes to controlling our blood sugar, is to make sure that we're sleeping properly and getting to bed at a good time. So sleeping at a good time, 10 p.m. is probably the average time where you can get a good 6 to 8 hours of sleep. I always tell people, and I tell my athletes, if you can get to bed between 10 p.m. and 10 p.m. or earlier, you're going to give your body the best opportunity for physical recovery. Like, that's when your body recovers the most from whatever your activity has been throughout the day. That 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that's where we get that physical recovery. I even talked about it in my book. So it's been here. I've been saying this for years now, a lot of years. And then you go from 2 to 6 a.m., 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., that is your mental recovery. So that's when your brain is processing all these things. That's when your brain is actually getting to help you resolve some issues that you may have. If you're a person that wakes up in the middle of the night, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you can't go back to sleep, then you have an unresolved issue that you need to deal with. The easiest way I've found to deal with these unresolved issues is to put a journal by your bed. If it's something that you can't sleep, if for some reason you can't sleep, then write this out in the journal. Just write out what the problem is, and then you can write out 4 or 5 different scenarios of how it could go. I mean, it could go right, it could go wrong, or nothing could happen. It's really what it boils down to. There's only 3 options there. So in terms of anything else we create, then we're really making up stuff. We're creating a story. Because it can go right or it can go wrong, or it can do nothing. Outside of that, not too much else to deal with. So we have that one. The other, when it comes to helping you go to sleep at night, you should look into, there's blue blockers. I don't know if you've heard of those. There's a pair of blue blocker glasses. I would recommend you wear those in the evening. When it gets dark out, just throw the blue blockers on. Because of that, sunlight is what actually helps us with the cortisol in our system. When you have that artificial light from like televisions and phones and those types of things at night, it stimulates our body that it's awake time, right? So we need to be producing all these hormones for us to be awake versus allowing us to calm down and let our body rest. So blue blockers are a great option there. When you're in the house and it's night and you have the lights on, the overhead light in particular, make sure you have those blue blockers on. That's one way to start calming your system down. The other is to have a sleep time, to really have a bedtime routine. Get in the bed, just follow it. If you have a TV in the room, if that's part of your end of the night routine, please eliminate that one. If you can do something like reading or journaling 30 minutes before bed, just something to get your day out of your brain and onto something else. It'll be there tomorrow. If you can do that, that would be great. It's a tremendous help in terms of allowing your body to relax, to rest, to recover, all those different types of things. So these are some of the things I want you to keep in mind. Another tip in terms of how to help our blood sugars, it's making sure we go to sleep, making sure we get proper rest, and being productive in that manner. I'll see you in the next video.